Hello and welcome. I'm Chef Jessica Leibovich, and I'm really excited to talk to you today about what has worked for me for losing weight as I age into my 40s and now heading into my 50s as a personal chef who loves to eat, loves food. I cannot be deprived. I cannot be on a diet. And I've also used this method to help my clients as well. So welcome, grab a cup of coffee or some tea. I'm gonna share what's worked for me. And this is just an introduction to my method. So if this is interesting to you, make sure you put your notifications on because I'm gonna be sharing a lot of resources and solutions with you that have helped me really get into a healthier relationship with food and be able to enjoy my life, enjoy eating, and not feel deprived. So, some of you may know me as a personal chef. You may know me as I may have mentored you in your chef business, or maybe you were a client of mine, but I now do a lot of creative resources online, and my next resource that is available is really going to be showing you how to transition your lifestyle into intuitive eating so you can forever maintain a healthy weight without feeling deprived. So the way that you do this, it is something that initially can seem overwhelming. And so the purpose of this video is really to help you not feel overwhelmed, to help you understand what is involved long term so you can really be able to dive in. Because with this strategy, initially the hard work is up front and you really want to put your time and energy in the beginning. And then as you get going and as you get more comfortable, that's how you transition into intuitive eating, which is what I do now. So first of all, when people think of losing weight, especially in their 40s and 50s, they think of deprivation. I know I did. For a while, in fact, for a long time, probably for over a decade, I was consistently gaining weight. So after I had my kids in my late 30s, I was at a pretty healthy weight. I was at like a low 120s. So like between 120 and 125. However, I started to gain weight pretty rapidly as I got into my 40s. I would consistently gain weight, and no matter what I did, it didn't seem like anything was working. I was a nutritional personal chef, so I thought I knew about healthy eating. And the problem is I was only looking at calories. So I was constantly watching my calories instead of actually looking at the makeup of the food I was eating. And so what was happening was, while I wasn't necessarily eating too many calories, because I wasn't eating the right makeup of calories and I was eating way too much fat and not enough protein, I was constantly hungry and I was constantly tired. So when I learned about tracking macros, it was something totally new to me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give this a try because nothing is working. And at this point, I was up to over 137 pounds, I think. So for me, that was quite a bit of weight. And the weight was continuing to go up. There was no sign that I was going to turn this boat around. And in fact, my doctors weren't concerned. Nobody around me seemed concerned. And for the most part, I wasn't really having any health issues surrounding this weight gain, but it was freaking me out. I had never been this heavy in my life. And what was freaking me out was that I thought I was eating healthy. I felt like I was doing everything right, but the problem was nothing was working. So I started tracking my macros. I personally love this app called Macro Stacks. I use them I've used them for many years because as a chef, I actually really like their ability to customize recipes, and they have a lot of good recipes on their own. But this particular app gave me a totally different type of macro makeup than I was used to. And it actually gave me like 150 carbs per day. And so for me personally, that actually was a big change. I was used to keeping my carbs lower. I had eliminated a lot of things. I had eliminated dairy. I had eliminated red meat for the most part because I thought those foods were unhealthy. But when I started looking at macros, I started realizing, wow, low-fat dairy actually fits really nicely into my macros. And I've been eating salmon all the time, and I didn't even love it. But actually, salmon was higher in calories and fat than a steak was. So these are things that I started to discover. I also started to learn some tips and tricks for things that I could have when I'm hungry, things that were very low macro, but high volume. I also learned about protein, about the different types of protein, about complete proteins, and how to incorporate them in my diet throughout the day so I could feel fueled and full. As I started to do this, it was amazing because what happened was I was never hungry anymore. In fact, I would get to the end of my day and I would still have carbs and protein to eat. A lot of times my fat would run out by dinner. I never had any fat left after dinner. And so this was very eye-opening for me to see that I had been eating way too much fat, much more than I needed, and much less protein than I needed. So as I started to shift this and started to plan my meals around what I loved, I was able to feel so full and energized every single day, but my weight was going down. And here's the thing, it wasn't just falling off. So this is really important. If you want to lose weight long term and you want to have that consistent weight loss that stays off, it's actually much better to do it more slowly and gradually, because that's when it really sticks. And that's when, if you are tracking and you transition into intuitive eating, it's very easy to be able to monitor what's going on and to change it if it needs to be changed. So I'm going to be getting into a lot of this information in the next few weeks because I'm releasing some resources, both for just individuals who want to maintain their weight as they age, and also for chefs and other food professionals who want to be able to cook for macro tracking, because that is a little bit challenging if you want to make homemade meals, because you need to make sure everything is accounted for. But because I've been doing it for myself and my clients for so many years, I have a lot of tips and tricks that allow you to be able to incorporate the foods that you love and the flavors that you love without adding a lot of macros to your day, and also keeping it simple. So if this is interesting to you, I'm going to be sharing these resources moving forward. If you have tried tracking before in the past and have struggled with it, or if the opposite, you have tried it and it's been a success for you, I would love to hear about it, because it's something that I feel like everybody should learn. I do feel like it's a skill that if we were taught this as children, as a whole, as a community, as a nation, we would be so much healthier, because understanding how macros fuel your body will change the game for you, because everybody's different. And here's the thing, there's so much information out there on healthy eating that a lot of us don't really know what is real and what's not. But you can't fake it with macro tracking. If you are tracking your macros personally and eating your food that you're tracking, you are going to know the direct correlation between your macros and how you feel. And you're gonna start to understand your body in a way like never before. And that is how you transition to intuitive eating. You cannot transition to intuitive eating if you haven't done the work of tracking first. And that's because everybody's different. For example, I need more carbs and a lot less fat. Some people are more fat adapted and they need more fat and almost no carbs. It really depends on each person. Some people need loads of protein. I personally don't like to get more than 100 grams of protein per day, but even that can be hard to hit. So these are things that unless you actually start tracking and you know what the makeup of all your food is, it can be a challenge. So I want to tell you this before I sign off. It's not overwhelming. In fact, it can actually be a lot of fun, and it's all about your perception. Look at it this way. You are doing this 100% for you. A lot of times, especially as women, especially women in their 40s, we're doing stuff for other people, whether it's your partner or your kids or the people around you. And macro tracking and watching how each macronutrient affects your body is 100% for you. Self-care that is an investment in your future. And guess what? It's totally free. You don't have to pay anything to track your food. You just have to pay attention. So I'm excited to share this information with you, and I will be logging on in the next week and having these resources available to you. So if you do want to get started and jump in to tracking your macros now, because it's spring, summer's coming up soon, and you can be in your vacation body then, make sure you turn your notifications on. Hit me up with your questions.